Well, that's unusually hypnotic watching Frank's face warp. Look at that. Hello from Manchester. It's like heaven here. Yeah, Paul McCartney and his Time magazine issue and his ukulele, Mr. Spock. He was a good representer. If he wasn't a comic, he should have been a PR guy. Brilliant PR person, like utter genius. He'd always come up with new ideas, whether it be pens or badges or scarves or ticket stubs. You know, he was a marketing machine. He's just a total inspiration. He was a one-man Hollywood, if you think about it. Working tirelessly, he must have worked so hard, night and day, you know. I bet he didn't spend a lot of time with his family either, or his loved ones, even though, you know, he probably loved them to death. But, you know, he had his dream and he wanted to fulfill it at whatever cost. And I bet he had a great time doing it as well. I bet he got such a kick out of doing all these new things, being on radio, television, posters, you know, or just walking around as Frank, you know, making people happy, you know, just blowing their minds. I found out about him too late. You know, by the time I found out about him, he'd already died. He died in 2010. If he ever wanted to do anything, I would have been there for him 100%. You know, we're on the same page, me and Chris. I would have put him in a movie. Oh, I'd let him run rampant. If me and Frank ever worked together, he'd run rampant in my film. He could literally do everything. I'd follow him anywhere. When I first saw Frank Sidebottom, like the way he looked, he made me want to like automatically go out there and make my own version of Frank Sidebottom. You know, make a character, create a character from scratch. So I went out and I made Blimp Chop Socky, who's like he's a filmmaker version of Frank Sidebottom, like a holy fool. Yeah, the world needs holy fools. You know, you can't be serious all the time, you know. In the end, life is a game, you know. After all the stress, you know, what's a better feeling than smiling, really, is there? Oh, where's his nose gone? Guy working away at home, you know, at his desk. Cool. I mean, he used felt tip pen most of the time. On a couple of his puppets, he was using paints, but most of them is all felt tip pen. I mean, that must have took forever to do. Always down at Poundland buying new felt tip pens. Hey, there it is. There's the Holy Grail right there. There he is. We miss you, Frank. Love to try it on. I wonder how many he made. But he put quite a lot of detail in. You know, it's seamless. He's quite an artist in himself. You know, he wasn't just like slapping it together. I mean, look at the eyes, the colour of the eyes, all the different shades that he's used. There's a lot of love that went into Frank. It was like a gift to all of us. You know, there's a lot of pain as well in dressing up like Frank and, you know, being him, and the way he changed his voice. He's actually put a clothes peg on his nose. And, you know, he must have that clothes peg on his nose for like a couple of hours at a time. You know, there's not much chance really to take the head off and, you know, have a breather and take, you know, his clothes peg off. And I heard that, you know, towards the end of his life, his nose was actually deteriorating to the point where, you know, it was starting to crack because he'd worn that clothes peg so long on his nose. He's a very determined guy. Yeah, the deadly duo. Amoeba Frank is in his pocket, probably. Focus, you stupid camera. Well, you get the idea. Steve Sullivan, the director, is an absolute saint for making this movie. And the funny thing was, this movie came out like weeks after I'd first heard about Frank, which is strange timing, but oh, I'm so pleased, you know, that he made this. And, you know, you can tell that he made it with love. I mean, just the fact that this is here at the library, you know, I wasn't expecting like this whole, you know, Frank would have loved it. You know, you can just imagine what Frank would have been thinking, and the way he'd promote his own movie, his own documentary like this, because this is the first one as well. I mean, he'd do like
TV spots, but nobody ever had the foresight to make a documentary about him. So, you know, Steve, you know, he's onto something here, and he's a great guy as well. He answers everybody's, you know, he's on Facebook and everybody like ask him questions, and he answers himself. And you get a lot of these films that come out where you ask a question, you never get an answer back. You know, he must be having the time of his life at the moment.
You know, I can't believe that Paul McCartney has never actually like mentioned Frank. If I was Paul McCartney, I'd have my arm around him. Must have really pissed him off at some point. You know what? I'm gonna get in contact with Paul McCartney. Maybe he doesn't even know that the friggin' film's come out. I'm gonna send him a trailer, see what he says. Yeah, I'm gonna do that for you, Frank. I'm gonna get in contact with Paul McCartney and send him the trailer. Maybe that's where Frank got the idea to make the Christmas songs, was from Paul McCartney. Yeah, workaholic, just like me, basically. It was very sad, this is, when I saw it for the first time. Yeah, he drew himself as Frank after he started having chemotherapy. Yeah, come on guys, find a cure for cancer. Yeah, here we go, #1 fan. Frank Sidebottom's #1 fan. He used to watch him on the telly and everything. He used to call himself Bat Bottom. Timply. It always remind me of Inter Milan. Oh, the beasties. Look at him swimming in the pool dressed as Frank. Imagine what the lifeguard was thinking. I bet he was a great dad though. It must have been hilarious having him as a dad. Charming egg timer. Never even heard of that before. He was ahead of his time in so many ways. I mean, even when it came to like computers, you know, he was going on about computers in like the early 80s, like when the Freshies did camouflage. You know, that was like the first video game music video. You know, and he made it himself. He actually designed the whole computer video. Even when he like made his albums, he did everything himself. He even played all the instruments pretty much. Produced it, engineered it, you know, he was overdubbing like crazy probably. A very smart guy. Yeah, like when post-punk was going on, you know, you had all your Joy Divisions and your Cures and Echo and the Bunnymen. At the same time, you had the Freshies and Squeeze, you know, like doing like songs like Call for Cats. It was the same coin, but the flip side of the same coin, really. It was like the happy side, it was like the ridiculous side of pop, but with guitars. Great band. My Tape's Gone's my favourite song of theirs. Virgin Megastore Checkout Desk is great, but My Tape's Gone is so catchy. That could have easily been a #1 song. That's him and his missus. I bet it was like an atomic bomb in her life when they first met. Ah, that's romantic, don't you think? It would be nice if you came home one day and someone left you something like that. It is so wicked in here. I feel like a little kid all of a sudden, honestly. The power of Frank. It keeps you young forever. I guess that's a cool thing about Frank Sidebottom, you know, he never ages. Kind of like the members of Kiss. They're young forever. The artist is a young man. It's like you never know who's actually going to be a genius. You can't really tell a genius from a photograph. Or can you? You'd see people in Frank's videos when he'd be out on the streets, you know, in Timperley, walking around, and the looks he'd get off of people were just the spellbinding looks that they'd have on their faces. It's like they were looking at Santa Claus. I'm pretty sure his love letter to Kylie Minogue came in like cereal boxes, and if it didn't, it should have. That must have been a really special day for Frank. It's when he opened up for Bros at Wembley Stadium. But apparently he didn't go down too well with the teeny boppers on the day. You know, they didn't know what to make of him. I mean, here they are coming to see Bros and Frank shows up. But I've never seen the footage of that, and I'd love to see it if any of it's out there. I've only seen about like 2-second clip of it, of him like literally just walking onto the stage, and you know, there being like 100,000 people there at Wembley Stadium. But I'd love to see the full set. So if anyone's got that out there, you know, just
put it on YouTube. Who cares at this point, you know? Who's got the copyright? Just get it out there just because the fans want to see it, you know? So, yeah. Or even better, you know, put it on the DVD extras of being Frank. Yeah, that'd be a good add-on, you know? I'd buy the DVD just for that. But it was like a madhouse when he went on stage.
And there's the famous shed.
At the moment, that's my favourite show. I love the guests on this show, especially the bands. They looked insane.
He was a great mime, actually. You know, if you actually look at his body language, you know, there is his interviews and just his performance, and you know, he'd give the best mime a run for their money. It's ingenious, some of the stuff that he'd come out with. You know, he'd have his fingers constantly moving, I noticed, or you know, he'd move his knees back and forth together. You know, he'd do like chicken movements and things like that. You know, he almost reminds me of Todò, the Italian comic, even though it wasn't a mime, the way he like utilised his body. I guess Buster Keaton's a bit like that. Yeah, Norman Wisdom too, George Formby.
Yeah, I need to learn some Frank Sidebottom songs on ukulele. Frank's World cartoon is so funny. Really trippy as well. The fact that he made everything himself.
Very special world, Frank's World is.
And you get that bully and he gets on his boat and he makes him sing Morrissey and Elvis songs.
Strange, Freddie Mercury's everywhere at the moment. I wonder if Frank and Freddie ever met. He was quite into science fiction, wasn't he? Thunderbirds, Spock, Star Trek. I know he was big into Top of the Pops as well. God, England would be so much better if Top of the Pops came back. Frank's massive in China. He's massive in Africa and China. The Africans love Frank Sidebottom. Everybody knows that by now.
Ninja Turtles, yeah. Yeah, Raphael was my favourite Ninja Turtle as well.
You know, my mission is to make Bobbins like a household name. The man with the paper mache head.
Maybe he just got bored with things after a bit. Kind of got it all out of his system. And there was nothing really for him else to do, really. I mean, he'd been in the band, he'd been on television, he'd been on radio, he'd been in newspapers and magazines. What else is there? You know, he had a really fulfilled life. Frank was everywhere in the 80s. In a way, Frank is bigger than Bros.
Alright, we've come to the end of our day. I had a fantastic time. It was definitely worth coming down to Manchester. You know, every time I come here, it's always something special. And I think this is like the icing on the cake, it really is. But my battery's just about to die. And yeah, thanks for watching. You know, come to Manchester. There's a few more weeks while this is still going on. You know, it'll be history after this. So, you know, make the most of it. So, sayonara.